ACA has a big announcement tonight, and I'm going to make it now. But first I'm going to tell you guys what ACA is and what we're up to if you didn't know. The Austin Creative Alliance was formed by a city plan called Create Austin. It's the cultural master plan of Austin. It was built and designed between 2008 and 2009. I think adopted, Janet probably knows better, in 2010, or I guess it was endorsed by council in 2010. So within the cultural master plan, there are 34 major recommendations, and 17 involve a creative alliance. Lots of cities have them: cultural coordinating bodies, economic development corporations for creative sector, that kind of thing. And this master plan talked about it a lot. And when I got into this gig, I went back to this and I was like, how do we implement this? What can we do? What is our role? And one of the things was about space growth and development. These are 4 things that are assigned to the Creative Alliance in the Cultural Master Plan, and they're all around space. And we know that's the biggest challenge facing the artists and the creative industries right now, is affordable space. You know, it's a really simple problem with no easy solution, is that rents are going like this, but none of these businesses, whether for-profit or non-profit, music venues, art spaces, rehearsal studios, these are low-margin businesses. They cannot grow their revenue fast enough to meet their next rent increase. We've seen it in San Francisco. It's just hollowed out San Francisco's artistic community. And we determined within the Austin Creative Alliance that we were going to apply ourselves to this problem, along with partners all across the city, because we did this survey. Look at the orange is people who aren't losing their space. The rest of it is people who probably will. That's over 50%. We surveyed 230 art spaces, which is a pretty solid sample. And I hear it anecdotally all the time. Like everybody I talk to, from a music venue to a gallery to a studio space, they're worried about when their lease is up and how they're going to afford to stay in their place. It's challenging. We started a series we call the Creative Sector Summits. We gather leaders from organizations, mostly executives, people who actually run stuff. A lot of people from the city have come, a lot of these folks here. And we've had 6 of them now. And they're a progressive series of convenings to address this problem. And the root was this. These were the top 10 big moonshot ideas that came out of the first summit. And these in yellow, those are about space. This is a problem. The Austin Music Census, the Cultural Needs Assessment. We had a group called Art Space America come in and survey Austin. Space is about to reach a critical point where artists may not be able to afford to stay in Austin because there's no work for them and there's no place to do work. The other big pile of moonshots was about coming together and creating a body in the community to sort of address these problems. And we had this one that we really adopted and are trying to be. The key here is to stay at the table. These are complicated problems. Well, it's a simple problem, it's a complicated solution, right? We have to stay at the table on these issues for our community, the way other communities do, the way the neighborhood associations do, the way the real estate community does. The creative community has to stay at the table and stick with it, because it's frustrating. Who's dealt with the city? Any government, it's frustrating. You just have to keep at it. And so I'm pleased to announce that we're going to keep at it with the Creative Infrastructure Initiative. It's 3 things that we're going to be working on. We've already started on. The needs for these 3 buckets arose from the Creative Sector Summits. They're much more complicated than this, but I'm too drunk to tell you in detail what's going on. But, you know, suffice to say, like this first one, build partnerships. We're engaged with neighborhood associations. We're engaged with the Austin Technology Council. We're talking with developers. We even have a pilot project already started with a development group. and to convince them and to develop the policy tools to make it not only worthwhile, but make developers really want to include creative space in their new developments. Like, how do we make it something that they really want to do? They don't really want to do street level retail. I've learned that. You know, it's hard to fill, it's flaky, retail turns over, restaurants turn over. You know what doesn't turn over? Theaters. They stay in place. And communities and values sprouts around them. We need a civic consensus. We're working on that. We've added to our board recently architects, policy people, political strategists, people who know how to get this stuff done are now on the board of the Austin Creative Alliance. And then finally, develop plans worthy of greater community interest. You know, honestly, you don't go to Samsung and say, support my warehouse theater. You may go to Samsung and say, support my new theater district. And why won't we talk about that? We should be. To fund all this, we have received a $100,000 gift. Dude, when the gentleman I'm about to introduce came to the first meeting, we had a wild and woolly conversation. I think he thought I was crazy. In the second meeting, he said, I want to give you $100,000. And I thought he was crazy. Please welcome our benefactor, Roy Mullin.
Nothing. Hello? Nothing John has said or done since then has dissuaded me from the idea that he is in fact crazy. But we're going to do this anyway. I didn't know I was going to be up here tonight until shortly before I was up here tonight. So, and I'm not even drunk, so y'all are really in trouble. But I had the great good fortune. I was in the salad days of my youth. I was a thespian. I did some acting on stage. I did a lot of community theater when in high school and college, and then life gets in the way, and you get busy, and careers, and wife, and kids, and all that stuff. And I woke up one day and realized it had been 40 years since I'd stood on stage and performed. And so I didn't know if I was delusional that I would never actually could perform, and I just had romanticized all that kind of thing. But I wanted to test the theory, and I wanted my kids to see me on stage at least once while I was still young enough to remember lines. And I did. Oh my gosh. So I foolishly went to City Theater, and I discovered that if you put your decimal point in the right place, they will let you pass the audition. I bought myself a Valentine. I got to play Sir Thomas More in A Man for All Seasons at City Theater. I got beheaded 15 times in February. My wife was a little disappointed in the lack of permanence. But in doing that and having that experience, which was I had a great time. I worked with an incredible cast and an amazing director, and it was a real highlight. Checked one off my bucket list. But in doing that, I was discovering how quickly and what an alarming rate we were losing performance space in Austin. And I thought, I'm mostly retired. I've got some resources. I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to figure this out. And I got a business background, and I was all set to go. And then somebody said, well, stupid, why don't you go over to Austin Creative Alliance and talk to John? And I did, and discovered he'd already done all the heavy lifting. He and his amazing staff and the strategic plan that they had developed. I was like, well, yeah, I'm sure that's what I would have figured out eventually. But they had already done all that, so I got to do the easy part, and I got to write the check, and I'm happy to have done that. That's the least imaginative thing that one is doing in this process. The work you people do and the artists that deserve a place to perform, you do the real work, and I applaud you for that, and I salute you. The only thing I would ask of you at this point would be two things. One, I sure hope you tip your bartenders, take good care of those people. I know they've done a lot of work just keeping John supplied this evening, so that's they deserve a healthy tip for that one. And then also, if you're not currently a member of ACA, I would encourage you to do that. And if you're already a member of ACA, I bet you know someone who's not. And the holiday season's coming up, I think it's a great gift idea. So shame your friends and neighbors into joining, and if they don't join on their own volition, then you can give them one and put it in their stocking or something. Thank you very much. I look forward to working with you as we recreate performance space in Austin. Yes.